This Shabbos is a double parasha, two portions, Chukas and Balak. The first parasha opens up with Hashem telling Moshe and Aaron, Zois Chukas HaTorah, which means that this is within the framework of Torah a specific kind of mitzvah that is called a choik. There are effectively three classifications of mitzvahs. Mishpatim, those are mitzvahs that are so obvious that even if you didn't have the Torah, any society would agree that we should follow these things, like do not murder, do not steal, honor your parents. Then there are what is called eidos. Those are mitzvahs that you and I wouldn't have thought of, but once the Torah tells us about them, we understand what they represent and therefore we buy into them rationally, like Shabbos or Pesach. And then there are chukim, very rare class of mitzvah, which has absolutely no explanation in rational thinking. So this parasha starts off with what is called the para aduma, the red heifer, which is considered the most irrational thing that exists in the whole of Judaism. And that prompts all of the commentaries to ask a very obvious question. It should say, Zois Chukas HaPara. This is the mysterious law of the red heifer. Why does it say Zois Chukas HaTorah? This is the mysterious law of Torah. That almost implies, and in fact that's the way we're to understand it, that all of Judaism, the whole of the Torah, is beyond comprehension. And that might come across as strange because ultimately the goal, or one of the big goals of Judaism, is to be able to understand what we do. We're not supposed to be robotic. We're supposed to learn. Hashem has gifted us with intellect and we're supposed to use it. So why would there be this suggestion, Zois Chukas HaTorah, that this is the inexplicable rule of the whole of the Torah? If you think about it, for a human being to imagine that you and I could develop a meaningful relationship with Hashem is actually irrational. We are finite. We're finite in our thinking. We're finite in our energy. We're finite in emotion. And of course, we live for a finite period of time. Hashem is infinite. So you could add as much finite knowledge and wisdom. You can never add enough finite insight to appreciate something infinite. You can't add enough finite actions, mitzvahs, in order to access infinite. So the whole underpinning of Judaism is irrational. It makes no sense, and it's very easy to throw up your hands and say, I'm not even going to try, because how would we ever get there? It's unattainable, it's beyond us. The Torah comes along and tells us, Zois Chukas HaTorah. This is the underpinning of the whole of Judaism. It doesn't have to make sense. When you think that you've understood it, which of course we're supposed to do, we're supposed to try and understand to the best of our abilities. So when you study something, you come to this is why we do it. This is why we keep Shabbos, because we all need downtime once a week, otherwise we'll go nuts. This is why we do Pesach, because it's part of our heritage to remember the history where we come from and to appreciate God's miracles. This is why we do whatever it is. The moment a person thinks, I've got it, I've worked it out, I understand fully exactly what it is, then you approach Hashem on your terms, relative to your understanding, which of course is limited, and then doesn't actually allow the person connection to Hashem. When we say, look, this is how much I can understand, but I appreciate those Chukas HaTorah. There's another whole component to every observance, to every mitzvah, to every ritual, and that other component is infinite. It's beyond what we will ever understand. Even if we took all of the intellect of the whole of history and collated it together, we would never be able to understand it. Then you realize that the interaction is on Hashem's terms. And on Hashem's terms, He can do anything, including make Himself accessible to us through a single mitzvah, a few minutes of prayer, or just a little bit of Torah study. Have a wonderful Shabbos.